So welcome. Boston Partners in Education is excited to share with you more about academic mentoring. Duran, if you want to go on to the next slide, just quickly introduce who's here today. So Duran West, one of our partnership managers, Amelia Andres, our senior partnership manager, Sue Lee, another senior partnership manager, and myself, was the director of data, Peter Darling, the director of data evaluation, also acting as the interim program director. And then we're also joined by some of your BPS colleagues, Ms. Kelly Keefe from the Quincy School, Stephanie Crawford from the Quincy as well, and Rose Mars from Boston Arts Academy are here to share some of their wisdom about working with academic mentors. So I'll do a quick introduction to our program. So Boston Partners in Education is an organization that brings community members into the Boston Public Schools as academic mentors. So our volunteer academic mentors come typically directly into regular classrooms to work with students in one-on-one and small group matches primarily, to support students in academics, social growth, things like that. They commit to at least 1 hour per week for the duration of the school year. They volunteer at the same time every week, really creating that consistent relationship with the students they're working with. All of our volunteers undergo the BPS Corey Sawyer background check along with additional training so that they can really maximize their support. But I'll turn it over to my colleague Duran to tell you a little bit more about the different offerings we have too.
All right, thank you so much, Peter. So for us as Boston Partners, we've been really working with Boston Public Schools for a long time, trying to best support their students and the needs in the district. And we've pretty much always had three main programs that we've facilitated with supporting students. Motivate, our program to support whole classrooms. I like to use the analogy of a paraprofessional in that role where you're working with the entire class, having a lot of communication with the teacher, maybe sharing lesson plans, and the need may change from week to week as you are able to just kind of help out wherever the teacher may need. And it could be a small group working with specific students in guided reading or math. You could be doing transitional activities like icebreakers or energizers as teachers are trying to get from one instructional period to the next. Or you could be working with one student and maybe a student needs just a little boost in confidence or a little TLC, and you can provide that help. Accelerate and Aim High are programs that we traditionally offer for our elementary and high school students. Accelerate, we work with any student in K through 8 and BPS that in basic math or basic English in a one-on-one support, but also in small groups that no more than 4 students can be a part of. So that way we can make sure that there's a smaller ratio and mentors can really find connections with all the students that they're meeting with each week. Aim High is very similar in the construct. It's one-on-one matches, sometimes small groups, no more than 4. But this time we work with STEM in the high school level. So anything that falls under science, technology, engineering, math, or humanities. So things like social studies or English. A lot of times we get requests to help out in the college essay process, things like that. Mentors can definitely help out in those cases as well. Our newest program for volunteers and students is the independent learning support. And traditionally with Boston Partners supporting during the school day, we've always just aligned our times to support during the school hours. But with the pandemic and so many things changing, we've added this opportunity to support students from 5th to 12th grade outside of school hours. And this also gives the opportunity for households, family members, guardians to also request a mentor who they feel could be a big use or a big asset to a student in their academic journey to meet once again for an hour a week at a minimum, sometime that's most convenient for the student and the mentor to meet. Online mentoring in the virtual classroom, for the most part, we've gotten feedback that teachers are using either a Zoom or a Google Classroom, Google Meet platform. So usually we get the opportunity to either receive the link or the teacher will communicate with the mentor before their first session. So that way the mentor has a peace of mind of knowing what to expect, and then they can join the virtual classroom during the designated time that they've already agreed to. The teacher usually is the one responsible for monitoring that match during the school day, as it does take place in their classroom. And we also, ask for those Zoom links and Google Meet links early, so that way we can be able to provide that for the mentor ahead of time. So I'm pretty sure many of you are wondering, what does a match look like? I'd love to actually pose that to some of our champion teachers that we do have here today. Ladies, if there's anything specifically when you think about how do you effectively use a mentor in your classroom from the years that you've been able to have mentors this year as well, in the virtual experience, if you'd love to add something, it'd be great.
I'd be happy to start. Hi, I'm Kelly Keefe. I'm a 5th grade inclusion teacher at the Quincy School. My mind shift has changed as to what a match should look like from my first few years teaching to now. When I first thought of a tutor, it would be like the child that you just need out of your face. You need the child that is at most risk or has the most gap in terms of academics. But fortunately, my mind shift has changed. And to me personally, I think a perfect match is a child that is performing close to grade level. So if you're thinking of like MCAS, that high needs category, where they just need that extra push. They are independent learners. Obviously we're virtual, so they are independent enough that they can navigate whatever online system and learning platform that you are using. So when they go out into that breakout room, you don't have to worry that this child is unable to unmute themselves. They are unable to share the screen. They're unable to access your Seesaw assignment or Google Classroom. That's kind of all set and done. And then, obviously the gracious people that come in and mentor our students aren't teachers. So, they don't have the toolbox that we do. They have the basic foundations of ELA and math and the, general curriculum. That's why they're here. So you want a student that is, close to grade level, just needs a little bit extra support, and is an independent learner, and you can kind of trust being out in that little breakout room.
Thank you so much. Anybody else would like to add to just how you are able to effectively use a mentor in your virtual classroom?
I can speak, I think, from the same perspective, but a different one, because I'm a kindergarten teacher. So most of my students, we worked really hard on pressing the, being able to unmute, but also being able to mute yourself when there's distractions behind you and all of that kind of stuff. So I think that, so I really loved having tutors when we were in school anyway, just because we do a lot of like center-based stuff. And so having, tutors in to be able to like be in the center that I can't be in, and that it's always been really helpful. So we're kind of utilizing it the same way, so that we can try and model the physical classroom the best that we can online. So being able to still have centers and being able to break out, or to have those students, like Kelly said, that are a little high needs, they need some stuff, but not to feel like that's what's happening because everybody's breaking out, so now they can break out and do that. I think that it's good for consistency, being able to like have someone do the same stuff that you've been doing and it feels different, but it's from the same person. So that's been really effective. So students in my class that kind of maybe weak in some areas, but just need that. I think the other thing is that social interaction. I'm finding that my students that are having like that, they're weaker in certain areas, or they're needing the consistency and the one-on-one, they also need that social interaction. Like that's how they learn. So sometimes just giving them a space to have someone to just talk to about the things they like has been helpful. And then I tell the tutors, like, here's what we're doing. If wherever you can fit that in, it's great. But right now they just need to talk to someone. And sometimes as teachers, we don't have time to let them share as much as we would be able to kind of do it in pockets in the classroom. So it's been helpful for those reasons.
And I can also give the high school perspective. So like, let's just do the whole gamut of it.
Yes.
I am working with 9th through 12th graders, and the way that we use the tutoring is we sort of have something that's in between the aim high and the independent learning. We have tutors meet one-on-one with students during their independent learning time outside of the classroom, but on classroom and on homework materials and matters. And things that I've noticed for a successful match is that the students who do the best are the ones who are sort of looking for another piece of accountability. They have the ability to do the work, but they're not organized, or they are unsure when they do their homework and they need someone there to validate that they're doing things correctly, or to call them out when they make silly mistakes. Those are sort of things that I notice our students really benefit from, having someone to check over their homework with them and sort of let them run the session. We have the philosophy that we have is that we try and center the student. Since they're 9th through 12th graders, we try and make them as independent as possible. So they're the power, they're the engine of the tutoring session. Every time we have a tutor who come in, we have them start the conversation with the student by asking what their goals are. What are they hoping to achieve by working with the tutor? Are they trying to get their grade up? Are they trying to get organized? Like, what is it that they want to do? And then the tutor is just there to keep them headed towards that goal and to keep them on track for that. And the student is really the one who's bringing the work to the sessions. They're the one who is responsible for telling the tutor what they need to do. You know, the student needs to be independent enough to know what homework they need to work on and to know where they're trying to go, so that the tutor can then support them in their own journey. One thing, and then the last thing that I would say in terms of getting a successful match is you need a kid who is independent enough to commit to the hour a week and to show up for the hour a week. That's something, you know, getting the kid in the room. If the kid's not ready to be able to be there every week, then you're not going to have a very successful match.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. If nobody minds, I would love to just really recap some of the things I took away from that. It sounds like some specific activities, center-based help, social interactions, just getting students to just exercise that muscle of just expressing themselves and elaborating on just their thought process on how they're getting answers, you know, homework help also, and then in high school, trying to really keep students independent and having a goal setting model where mentors can support and keep students accountable in those small groups. Hopefully I didn't miss anything there, ladies. Is there anything else specifically when you think about what you, like specific activities you do ask mentors to do with students that hasn't been said, or are we all good?
Just, you know, never try to give a tutor or a mentor something brand new to the child. That's probably one last thing I would say.
I would say that the majority of our matches are probably in ELA and writing. So it's a lot of helping students read over and edit the things that they're working on. We have a lot of writing assignments, and I noticed that that's something that tutors help a lot with.
Thank you so much.
I would just say that one of the things that I find is helpful is that when we use Seesaw, I can give them access to our Seesaw, like by making them a temporary teacher, and they're able to kind of like access what we're doing and see it and like share their screen, and you know, and that's been helpful.
Awesome. All right, thank you so much. We're just going to continue on here. The next slide gives you Sorry, that's another presentation at another time. If you want to learn more, you can click that link. All right. So students that do benefit from having academic mentorship, I think there were some really great answers in that last conversation, or just from some of the things that the teachers were able to speak on. And I think, without going, and asking the question again, if there was anything specific that wasn't already said on the students that you have to think about who can really benefit the most from having an academic mentor in the room. This slide does give you some ideas of things that we've gotten from feedback in the past. But ladies, once again, if there's anything that hasn't been already said, you can definitely add to this, or anything that you want to elaborate on from this list.
I think the biggest one for me is organization. Kids that need help getting organized, and then kids that need help finalizing and submitting assignments is a big thing for us, especially in the virtual environment.
I think I might just add, students who are comfortable communicating on camera is definitely a plus. I do have some students that are comfortable, but not in that big setting, so they don't. And so maybe being aware of that too, because there are some students that aren't speaking up because they're not in that smaller setting, and they could use more of that.
Thank you so much. All right. So let's see. Hopefully I can move this slide without clicking a link here. All right. So in the process of nominating students, I know that we've gotten feedback from time to time that the process in the nomination form takes a little long. And if you have multiple students that you're thinking of to nominate, that process may be a little tedious if you're going over consistently filling out this form. And I think the question that I personally have are, what are the things that you come prepared with when you do go to fill out this nomination form? For us, at least on our end, we've are intentional about trying to make that process to nominate students as efficient and as quick as possible. But on our end, we do also need specific information to make sure that we are placing the best type of mentor in that situation to succeed. And also for the students' growth as well. But ladies, if there's anything in specific, I know Ms. Crawford, you did have something that you may want to add here. Do you want to start?
I can start. When I look at this, I laugh because Sue's probably like, I'm always messing up my form. But so I guess that would be the first thing, is to know that Boston Partners is so accommodating and helpful. And so like when I'm messing up or missing someone, I'm emailing like, I forgot someone in that group. She just helps me out so that, that we can take that load off and know that, it's okay. But I think that I kind of go in thinking about what I would want to know with a student coming in, like if I were getting a new student in the middle of the year or something like that. The academics is great. So like, where they are in that area, and but also just kind of like who they are. So I always come thinking about that because I feel like when I speak to the mentor, I can brief them on like what we're doing and what they need to work on, but just like who they are, are they shy? What do they like? That kind of stuff. And like just what they need. Like, I've said before, like, it's just them, their parent is working, it's just them. They just really need some one-on-one. So that kind of stuff is important to me.
Yeah, just to second what Ms. Crawford was saying, the nomination process, I think Boston Partners, you've made it very streamlined, very easy. It's simple. It's not like you're filling out like a stepping stone recommendation or something more thorough. But yeah, the social piece is definitely key, and I think kind of should trump a lot of the academics. It's just like a nice window of opportunity to get a snapshot of the child and see if you can connect personally with that match.
When I ask students, when we're collecting information from the students about what they need, there's one question that I ask, which is, how are you struggling in this subject, and what would you like the tutor to do for you? You know, how do you expect the tutor to help you? And ninth and 10th graders sometimes don't really know what to do with that question, but they're, you know, the high schoolers are at the point where they can sort of imagine what a tutoring situation might look like for them. And that's really helpful information for the tutors to have.
And I mean, that's great. I think a lot about how important having just another relationship with an adult that isn't the parent can be for these students, especially. The last question I did have were for just expectations as teachers, as people who are nominating for mentorship in your classrooms. What do you find to be the expectations of yourself as a teacher? What do you go in being ready to have to, you know, tell the mentor upon introductions, things that you think that for your role you should be ready for, and certain questions that you could be ready for as well in that match with a mentor?
I mean, obviously communication, you know, they are not physically coming into your classroom. So you need to make sure that you are checking your emails, getting back to them at a reasonable time. You know, maybe even setting aside some time to go on a Zoom call and work out your learning platform by, you know, walking them through that process. Maybe they've never been on a Google Classroom or a Seesaw before. Most people, you know, haven't if they're not in the education field. So thinking of different ways that you need to open up your lines of communication. You know, as soon as my nominations have been made, the mentors quickly have reached out. And then, you know, I make sure I get back to them as soon as possible, confirming that Zoom link, confirming that they have access to my Seesaw account, and that they're, you know, are comfortable navigating their way around it. And if not, then, you know, we will have a different conversation and set up some times to work out those kinks. But definitely just making a strong commitment to communication. You know, if a lot of the tutors and mentors will touch base with you afterwards. And if they don't, maybe you feel comfortable touching base with them. How did it go? Is there anything that I can troubleshoot with you on, or any help that you need? So just communication.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I would definitely say be prepared to be the meta mentor, because there are many days, most days, I would say, in fact, that, you know, mentors come out of a conversation with a student and they want to go over what they did, and they're interested in getting feedback, you know, even feedback of, I did this, do you think that was the right move? So definitely being prepared to have those conversations with mentors, and then also be prepared to be the person potentially hunting the student down and trying to find them, at least, especially if it's outside of class time. My circumstances is that I'm the tutoring coordinator for the whole school. So all tutoring happens in my classroom. And then I am sort of the person who, if a student is here and a tutor is not, then I'm hunting down the tutor. And if a tutor is here, but a student is not, then I'm hunting down a student. And sometimes they don't show up, and be ready to make a lot of small talk.
Sounds like you play that role of the connective tissue that makes that relationship work.
Somebody's got to be the switchboard operator.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Ms. Crawford, is there anything that you wanted to add to that? If not, it's totally fine.
I was just gonna add that, and everyone is not comfortable doing this, but for someone that might be, for my parents, I keep my phone close to me. So for the tutors, I give them my number, because if they're in a group and I forgot to give them sharing access, or something like different, or they have a question, they just shoot me a text and I can jump in, or, you know, because if I'm with another group, I can tell them to wait and jump in, or you know, just help them or respond back quickly. So I hope that's okay, but it works for us and the tutors that I've had so far.
That's great. Yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad that we all know different styles and we can be able to communicate that with the mentors to keep that communication tight. I definitely think for us at least, we lean on teachers as the biggest resource during the match and match support. So it's great to know that your expectations of yourself is to be very open in communication, be that switchboard, that operator when necessary. You know, however, whenever you need to be reached out, it's like an open door policy, it sounds like. So that sounds great. Next slide here is just general questions. I know for those of you who are teachers maybe listening to this slideshow who have maybe nominated before or not nominated before, maybe you have some questions for just us, for our group. I would like to say before we do jump into that, thank you so much to Ms. Kelly Keefe, Ms. Rose Mars, and Ms. Crawford. I'm sorry, I can't see your screen and do that at the same
Okay, I'm Stephanie.
Miss Stephanie Crawford, sorry about that, for your time and your just perspective on our matches that are taking places in your classroom. Yeah, just really appreciate that a lot. So what we can do is, if there are any questions, we can take a quick Q&A session. If anybody has any burning questions they'd like to ask, you can feel free to unmute yourself, or if you feel more comfortable, you can put it in the chat and we can respond.
I have a question. I teach at the Trotter, and I don't know much about it other than what I've just learned now. But if I nominate, let's say, 4 students, does that mean that if I am assigned a mentor, then that would be a group?
Yes. So you know, I think for a partnerships manager, what I would say my partnerships manager hat is, if that's a group that you think would work really well together as 4 students, then by all means, yes, you'd get one mentor for that. But if you feel like 2 students could do really good together, or you feel like they all personally need one mentor and one-on-one situations, then you would probably have to make individual nominations for each student.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yep. It's a great question. Any other questions?
Can I add that the form that Sue shared, and for me it's newer because I know we were paper at one point, but I was like, I had to just kind of like peruse and look at it and play with it a little bit. So I don't know, Mary, if you wanted to do that, that might be helpful, just kind of to see what it looks like to make like one nomination or a group. I know I still need to do that sometimes to see what I'm doing, but it's pretty self-explanatory, but that helped me.
Like a visual, correct? Yeah. I can definitely, I mean, we definitely have that resource. Is it in the chat? Yeah, I know the link is here in the chat. But let me see. How do y'all feel? Do I get the opportunity to do this right now, or anybody want to?
Duran, are you thinking about walking through a nomination? So we do have some videos on our website actually that show folks how to the process, some YouTube videos, so you can see what it looks like step by step in 2 minutes to get that overview. And like Ms. Crawford said, it's very quick if you just want to go through it and enter some test data in, so you can see what every question is going to be as well. So I don't think we should walk through the entire thing right now, because then we'll get bogged down in it. But we're happy to answer any questions about it, of course.
I was so ready. I mean, if that was what was needed for people to feel comfortable, I would have went through every field in the entire nomination. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Are there any other questions? If not, we can definitely give you some time to enjoy the rest of your Wednesday afternoon. On behalf of Boston Partners in Education, once again, I'd love to thank the guests who got a chance to speak here, Ms. Rose Mars, Ms. Kelly Keefe, Ms. Stephanie Crawford, and all the rest of you who were able to take your time out of your afternoon to join us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.